Inflation, it gnaws at profits, it buries growth, it silently drains the lifeblood out of every deal you've poured sweat, blood, and ambition into. It makes every forecast a guess, every budget a hostage to forces that seem both invisible and unstoppable. But what if inflation isn't just some random beast raging beyond control? What if there's a hidden hand steering it, one that's been shaping the rules under our noses without us even realizing? Picture it, the very engine that's supposed to drive growth, fuel innovation, and create value might be quietly twisting the dial on prices for its own gain, and it's called private equity. This is the reality many leaders, investors, and executives don't see coming. The inflation storm feels like a natural disaster. It feels like an unstoppable tide, but it isn't. Somewhere between the boardrooms, the leveraged buyouts, the aggressive roll-ups, and the relentless drive for profit lies a force that's warping our economic terrain. If the economy consumes you daily like a merciless war zone, and if inflation is the biggest enemy stealing your market, eroding your margins, and crushing your customers' power, sit tight, because understanding this could be the game changer you've been hunting for in the shadows. Private equity firms have mastered a brutal art, turning money into more money, fast, cold, efficient. But here's the kicker. To fuel those skyrocketing returns, they often squeeze every ounce of efficiency and profit out of the companies they buy. That sounds good on paper. Fix what's broken, cut fat, innovate, and boost value. Yet the reality is far more complex and far more disturbing. There is an unspoken consequence that ripples outward beyond the walls of private equity-owned companies into the very fabric of the economy. And guess what? The cuts, the price hikes, the monopolies quietly created, all throttle the market in a way that stokes inflation like a fire. Think about it. When private equity gobbles up an industry, consolidates it like a pack of wolves circling the prey, what happens? Competition dies. Without competition fighting like gladiators, prices don't get cheaper, they go up. The consumers, your clients, your employees, bear the brunt. It's an invisible tax disguised as market dynamics. It's the quiet inflation that no economist shouts about, but every CEO feels in their P&L statement. Meanwhile, the pursuit of efficiency creates a vulnerability, a fragile infrastructure that collapses under any pressure. When corner cutting hits supply chains or labor markets, shortages bloom. Prices don't just rise, they spike uncontrollably as scarcity hits. Rents for factories go up, wages stall or drop, product costs soar. This domino effect doesn't stay within one company. It floods entire sectors, spreading like wildfire, making inflation feel like an uncontrollable beast. Some might say private equity just reacts to the market. Sure, the global supply chain chaos, the energy shocks, the geopolitical turmoil all play a role. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Private equity firms, driven by short-term returns and leverage-fueled deals, fuel these stresses. They slice budgets, they push suppliers to the brink, and they strip companies of resilience. Resilience that could absorb shocks, keep prices stable, and protect markets. Instead, what emerges is fragility dressed as efficiency. So what's the answer for you? For all those grinding through negotiations, balancing budgets, leading teams, making impossible calls under pressure? First, recognize that inflation isn't some distant tsunami, but a product you can influence, if only you fight smart and fight together. Private equity is a player, yes, but not an immovable force. It's a system designed by humans, wielded by people vulnerable to change, hungry for collaboration, and desperate for new angles. Start by demanding transparency, inside your own sphere, but also in the partnerships you forge. If you're dealing with private equity-backed entities, insist on open conversations about pricing strategies, supply chain management, and long-term resilience, not just short-term profits. Push for value, not just cost-cutting. You have the authority to challenge the narrative that profit has to mean higher prices for customers. You have the power to reshape expectations, Realign incentives. Next, think ecosystem, not just enterprise. Inflation isn't beaten by silos, it's defeated by networks, an interconnected web of leaders, investors, suppliers, innovators, all aligning to build strength and stability. Form alliances that transcend competition, insider conversations that share intelligence, collaborative sourcing that stabilize supply, joint ventures that spread risk, and innovations that reduce dependencies. When the rare connect with the rare, when misaligned brilliance finds its match, that's where change happens. It doesn't have to be loud to be powerful, it just has to be unstoppable. Your people, your teams are your secret weapon. Inflation eats morale and productivity. But resilient, aligned, informed teams fight back. Equip your leaders with intelligence about where private equity pressures hit hardest and celebrate the small wins in procurement, in contract negotiations, in customer retention that chip away at inflation's grip. Failure isn't an option. Every step forward is a rebellion against the status quo that wants to keep you battling alone. Also, rethink your value creation through a long lens. The pressure for fast returns, for quick wins, for reactive measures is exactly what fuels fragile inflationary pressures. You, as a leader, must become an architect of patience. Patience to build ecosystems that thrive over decades, systems that reward stability over volatility. It starts with asking the hard questions about investments. At what cost? For whose benefit? Is this sustainable or a ticking bomb? Then, double down on investments that build supply chain diversity, innovation in cost structures, and customer-centric value that isn't easily shaken by market jolts. Most importantly, refuse to be a cog in the old wheel. The world of inflation, of private equity, of economic chaos isn't the only reality. It's a constructed illusion maintained by comfort, compliance, and the willingness to accept a broken system. But you, executives, investors, leaders, you are here because you reject that. You know that power lies not in playing by the rules but in questioning them, not in following trends but in making them, not in waiting your turn but in creating new paths. This fight against inflation, against the hidden hand of private equity's market forces, is a fight for liberation, for the power to create a reality of your own making. In moments when the pressure mounts, the numbers don't add up, and the future looks uncertain, remember, this isn't about survival alone, it's about transformation. Private equity can be tamed, inflation can be shifted. The systems that seem impenetrable only exist because no one has dared pull the thread. You are the ones who must pull it. Unravel the illusions of ease and comfort. Tear down the old paradigms of extractive profit. Build instead a network of fierce, aligned individuals united by purpose and unshakable vision. It won't be easy, it won't be quick, but it will be worth everything. Because beyond inflation lies freedom. Beyond private equity's grip lies opportunity, waiting for those sharp enough to see it, bold enough to seize it, and smart enough to build it. This is your call to hack the system, to turn the weapon of inflation back on the forces trying to control it, and to forge a new reality where leadership means reclaiming true growth, not just for profits, but for legacy, for people, for a future that refuses to settle for less. The battle against hidden inflation is your battlefield. The connection with other rare, brilliant minds is your artillery. The relentless belief that reality can be redefined is your strategy. And the only way forward is together, uniting across industries, borders, and roles to blaze a new path that leaves behind the lies and limitations of the past. This is not just business anymore. This is revolution. An awakening for those willing to burn brighter and refuse to bend, no matter the cost. Hold on to that fire, feed it with sharp insight, fuel it with unshakable resolve, because soon the world will look to you, not for the same answers, but for the courage to create new ones. The hidden hand behind inflation will tremble before the power of those who refuse to be silent, who refuse to be broken. This is your moment. Take it, transform it, own it.